I think that gets us started there. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
We're here at Jazz Live with Justo Almario. Justo, thank you so much for coming to San Diego and to Jazz Live tonight.
My pleasure. I'm truly happy to be here, and I really cherish this opportunity to be here.
So tonight's show is part of the San Diego City College World Cultures program. Can you tell us a little bit about the band that you brought in tonight?
Yes, it's a band made up of some great Colombian players, and it's called the Colombian Jazz, Justo Almario and the Colombian Jazz Ensemble.
And I also say, Justo Almario's Afro-Colombian project.
That's right.
So can you tell us something about the musicians, their names, and how you met them, or their background?
Well, one of my missions, I think, because I was born in the Caribbean coast of Colombia, is to showcase the music from that region that is based a lot on the African culture and African people that lived in that part of the world. So tonight we have a new proposition musically, which we were combining the jazz elements with the Afro-Colombian rhythms. Some of them are called porro, another is called cumbión, another one called chandé, another one called fandango, and cumbia as well. And I have some great players. We have in piano Jason Rodriguez, on vocals and percussion Nando Perez, also on percussion Neil Benitez, on the bass we have Guillermo Guzman, and on drums we have Aaron Serfati, and we are so happy, all of us, because we are presenting, I think for the first time in San Diego, this new element. We had a show in Los Angeles about a few months ago that was very well received because of the difference of the music. Sometimes, when we think about Latin jazz, we immediately think about the Cuban part of it. The rhythmic is based on Cuban, and sometimes Brazilian. But now we have these Colombian rhythms that are very rich and very important, and hopefully we'll be able to do more and more of that and make recordings with this new combination.
Right. So why do you think that this Colombian aspect of South American music or Latin American music hasn't to this point been explored, or has it and just hasn't gone to the places that you're going to?
It really hasn't. And it's about time, I think, to do it. And as I said, people really have received it well, the people that have heard it. And I guess, as I said before, we are so used to, when we said Latin jazz, that only think about the Cuban aspect of the rhythms, which is, I love too,
Correct.
All the Brazilian I love. But, we have some other, like in Peru, great music, Argentina, Venezuela, and now, because I'm from Colombia and I'm very familiar with the music, and I have the right players now, I was able to get them to come and play. So we want to share that with the audience and with all of you.
So can you contrast, for instance, Cuban music to Colombian music, and what maybe some of the big differences may be that listeners, that listen to world music can maybe hear?
Well, as Colombian music, this music that we will play is also based on the African culture that went to Colombia, and the Cuban music also has the African. So there's some similarity in that way. But when you think about Cuban music, you're thinking about rhythms like mambo or cha-cha-cha, guajiras. And now with the Colombian music, we have talking about rhythms that are like porro, cumbión, chandé. They're different rhythms. They still have the same African influence, but they feel different. Even the way that people dance to it is quite different.
Is there a history of the kinds of African people that migrated to that part of South America, as opposed to the Caribbean and Cuba? Or
Well, yes, basically that's from the West Africa, the slaves that were brought, and the culture in Colombia, although not too many people know it, unfortunately, but it's very it's powerful, the African culture there, to the point that there's a town in Colombia on the Caribbean coast called Palenque, which the people over there, if you go over there to visit, you feel like you are back in Africa. They even speak dialects like the Bantu language, So, and the music is very inspired by those dialects.
Well, so that's the environment then that you grew up in, correct?
I did, yes.
Growing up in Colombia.
Yes.
How did you then get introduced? Well, I guess there always seems to have been some improvisational aspects to African music.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
How did you see the relationship of the music that was your native music to jazz, and how did you begin to do those together?
Well, I fell in love with jazz at a very early age because my father was a percussionist. He played the conga drums, and I started playing the conga drums when I was a little kid. But then one of his friends gave me a little flute, a piccolo flute, and I started to play that, And I started to improvise as they played the conga drums and the fiddle drums with those rhythms that we were talking about, like the porro and the cumbia. And one time, a friend of mine, or the family, he had imported a recording of Charlie Parker, and thus I fell in love with jazz because he said, "This is the music feels like a little bird that's released from a cage. The improvisation was so rich. And then I switched to I started to play the saxophone and the clarinet as well. Based on the inspiration that I get from listening to the jazz music when I was about 8 years old.
So it sounds like it was like the improvisation that you were doing yourself on your piccolo.
Yeah, it was like that, but and it was one difference. For instance, like the Latin American music, a lot of folkloric music, Colombia or being Cuban, harmonically is based on what we call tonic and dominant, the first chord and the fifth chord, and that's like the people speak through those two chord changes, and when you have the jazz, the American music, then you have to switch harmonies, you have different variations of the tonic and the dominant, which really grabbed my heart, and I said, I want to learn that, I want to experience, and I want to explore those type of harmonies.
So the native music had that foundation of those good chords,
yes.
But the jazz gave you freedom to do different things with them.
Different
you were expected to do different things with them.
Different chord changes, rich chord changes, and also, the jazz music comes from the heart of the people. Also, it started also in a simple way, and then it was added, of course, to the European influence, because something that we have in the Caribbean coast of Colombia also is like, we can talk about three ethnic types of the races. We have the African, as we spoke, we have the indigenous, and then we have also the European. So we have those three things, which I think, with the difference being like the people over there kept the music and kept the drums. They kept that, they kept more of the tradition of the African culture and the Indian culture as well.
Well, then, how was that music, how was that music received at home when you started doing jazz and taking the improvisations to different places with the freedom jazz gave you?
Well, it's quite different, right? Because like the aspect that you have of music over there is like when you play, people start dancing. The rhythm calls you to dance, the melodies, and that. When you play jazz, it also has a dancing thing, but it's more like you need to listen. You need to pay attention to the chord changes and the structures. So that took for instance, my grandmother, which was very musical in the Caribbean sense of the word. When I started playing other type of melodies and harmonies and improvisations, she wanted me to explain it to her. She said, "What you doing? What is this? And then I was able to to share with her about what my love for jazz.
And did she accept that? Did she embrace that?
She did. She did very much, and to the point right now that in Colombia and many places in Latin America, we have several cities that have jazz festivals. That including, for instance, in Barranquilla, one city in the coast of Colombia, they have this festival called Barranquillas, and they bring people from New York, people from Los Angeles, people like Kenny Barron, Wynton Marsalis, those things. So it has truly grown, and the audience has grown too.
Well, another aspect, we've kind of touched on what I would say are kind of three major aspects of your music: your South American heritage, the jazz you bring in it, and then there's a third that you're very, that seems to influence your music. It's spiritual and your relationship beyond yourself. Can you explain how that comes to play in your life and how it impacts your music?
Well, thank you for asking, because that's a very important part of who I am, and the fact that I realized in 1981 that music was created by God, and it had a purpose, and it's to, I think, to bring music that brings worship to God, and also that brings refreshing to the audience, and that's one of my important aspects. And prayers, one of my prayers, daily prayers, that I said, Lord, use my music today to touch people with the sound, with your spirit, to bring that peace, that joy, and that love that we so much need in the world now. So, and I think that that's available through a relationship, and it's a relationship that I have with the Lord that happened in 1981, and I think that really gave a lot of meaning to my search, my musical search, because as I told you, when I was a little kid, I started playing, and I started experiencing the music, and I wanted to be a musician, but I was searching, the jazz, I was searching this and that, and when I realized in 1981 that God had created the music for a purpose, it really gave my music a lot of meaning, and it really gave me a lot of incentive to keep getting better at it, to be practicing, to do the best that I can, so when the audience are there and the listener, they get the best that I can give, and not only technically or academically, but from the heart, from the spirit.
Well, and that happened. That didn't happen. That happened in the 80s, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, and so did you have a background? Was your family religious, or introducing you to that, or was there some point that you just reached that you had to do something different?
No, I think like by tradition, when you think about Latin America, it's a very, by tradition, very, Catholicism is very big, things like that. But it was only a tradition, I really never had nor my family I could say either, they have a really strong ties, but in 1981, I really became, what you said, a Christian, a believer, and it really meant a lot for my life in general, for my music, for who I am, and now I see it as a blessing that since I was a little kid, I always knew that I wanted to be a musician, and that's what I've been doing all of my life, and now I'm 59 years old, so you know what I mean.
Oh, there's a long way to go.
So I've been, even I started playing since I was a little kid, and then I became professional when I was like 14, 15, and then went to schools, did all that, and I started playing with different bands, different things like that. And even before I knew the purpose of the music, the spiritual purpose of the music, I was already a musician,
Right.
So, but now I consider myself more complete spiritually to express the music that is given to me through the inspiration.
Well, so where can folks find out more about you and your music? On the internet, for instance?
That's right, yeah. I have a page in www.myspace.com Justo Almario, JUSTOALMARIO. And you can go over there, and I have different tracks of several recordings that I have done. I also have a list of the things that I'm doing, the tours and the presentations, shows that I'm doing. So please visit that. And there's also, with the YouTube thing now, you can see a lot of videos that I've done. There's a lot of videos that you could see from different parts of the world that I've been, that are posted there.
Well, it's been an honor to talk to you now and to have you here at Jazz Live playing your music. Thank you again for being here with us.
Well, thank you. I want to really thank you and invite all of you to come here and celebrate.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Justo, while I have you in front of the mic,
yes,
I'd like you to do just a quick ID.